was last Saturday where I talked about Corey Graves and WWE After the Bell and his statements on Charlotte Flair, which I found to be utterly ridiculous. And I think a lot of people found them to be utterly ridiculous, which is why I'm seeing this week a lot of back and forth and a lot of trying to correct what he said and what Charlotte Flair said on social media. Everybody's coming out and trying to correct what Corey Graves stated on After the Bell. I ranted here for 30 minutes going over what he said. And what he said in so little words is that Charlotte Flair needs more opportunity on WWE TV. I don't know what show he's watching, but everywhere I look, it's nothing but Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair has 10 title reigns, 3 of which this year have not even accumulated 1 week. I don't know what more opportunity she needs. She retired Trish Stratus. She's in every single segment with Becky Lynch since the WWE draft. The fact that they moved her over to Monday Night Raw where Becky Lynch finds home, I just find to be equally ridiculous on top of everything else that I find ridiculous. There's too much Charlotte Flair. He wants his queen back. I want the queen to be dethroned in WWE. I want someone else to take the throne in WWE. And I want someone to take the throne that's not part of the 4 horsewomen. Sasha Banks, who I love. Bayley, I find to be very entertaining in this heel run. Somewhat. WWE always finds a way to mess things up, but I love Sasha Banks and I love Bayley and I love what they have contributed to the overall women's evolution. Becky Lynch, it seems to be that Becky Lynch is dying off. She's not as exciting without somebody there that she could really feed off of. And that's where WWE is messed up with Becky Lynch. And then we got Charlotte Flair. WWE revolves every single women's segment on their TV around the 4 horsewomen. And they seemingly have forgotten everybody else. Which makes me think and ponder, what happens when you have everybody in NXT ready to make the jump to the main roster? What are you going to do then? What are you going to do with a Candice LeRae? What are you going to do with a Bianca Belair? What are you going to do with a Rhea Ripley, a Tegan Nox, a Dakota Kai, a Toni Storm, a Piper Niven? What are you going to do with these women? What are you going to do with them when they make the jump to the main roster? Are you still going to neglect the talent that you got, the talent that you're hoarding on this roster? Or are you going to continue to push the 4 horsewomen the way you've been doing? Most notably Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. The women's division is weak. And the WWE has made it weak because all they think about is their 4 big without giving anybody else an opportunity. I don't want my queen back. I want to see less of Bayley. I want to see less of Becky Lynch. I want to see Sasha get what she's got coming to her, which is a push. Right? We should be seeing more Sasha Banks, to be quite honest with you, but that's another story. What I'm trying to get at is that Corey Graves said some ridiculous things last week. And now we had Charlotte Flair on the podcast, and they're going over how she doesn't feel fulfilled coming out of WrestleMania. The women's division is weak. There's no direction in the women's division. And that's exactly what I said about Corey Graves' comments about Charlotte Flair last week. The division is weak. Charlotte feels unimportant because you don't make the division important. It's not about pushing a specific talent. It's about pushing the others in the division so that they can actually stand up to who you have in that division as the leaders. And WWE has not done that. And they refuse to do that. And everybody knows that there's an issue. Everybody knows what the problem is. But WWE doesn't rectify the problem. Now, Paige was on After the Bell. I'm assuming Corey Graves knew he fucked up somewhere. So he had Charlotte Flair, who was outspoken, and Paige, who is just naturally outspoken. Paige appeared on After the Bell. And Corey Graves brought up the current state of the women's division, which, by the way, I ragged on him for 30 minutes. And it's nice to feel justified when he comes back the very next week and starts going over the current state of the women's division, which makes me think, or I hope, that he actually caught wind of what I said last week. I hope. Probably not, but I hope. Anyway, seems that when Paige was on after the bell, she was triggered by this subject, and she continued to express her frustration. She says, and I quote, "Oh, don't even get me started with that, dude. That is why I don't understand why we don't have another girls' pay-per-view." I don't know how that is talking about the current state of the women's division, which I'll get into, which I don't believe the mentality. Yeah, the women's division is weak, but let's give them a pay-per-view. Yeah, the women's division is fucked up right now, but let's give them a pay-per-view. We had that one-off deal. Like, what the hell was that about? Give us one every year. Like, what the fuck, she says. She continues on. That was the whole purpose. You had a women's evolution for a reason. I was like, fuck it, let's stop talking about the women's evolution and actually let the women do whatever they want. I feel like a lot of the girls are being held back. I love the Four Horsewomen. Do not get me wrong. I love Sasha. I love Charlotte. I love Bayley. I love Becky. I love all of them. But there's a lot of women that should be given an opportunity. Like, I'm excited for Liv Morgan to come back. I'm like, damn, yes, some fresh faces. I love seeing Natty. I love seeing Lacey. I love it. I love it all. So, like, as much as I love those four, it's like there are other women in the company. End quote. The women don't need another pay-per-view. I don't give a shit who I trigger by saying that. I don't want to see another Evolution. Seriously. Evolution was done for one reason and one reason only. Actually, two reasons. Number one, the women did not get access to the Saudi Arabian show that happened in November of that month. Or the November of that year. And WWE knew that they had a very small window with Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey headlining the first ever WWE All-Women's Pay-Per-View. Man, that makes for a great fucking headline. That's why they did it. They knew they had a small window, and it was, and I'm sorry, you're not allowed in Saudi Arabia, but we'll give you this. We won't put as much effort into it, but we're going to build this up, and we're not going to build up your show. So it was a make good. It was a thank you for all that you have done, and a thank you for not complaining. Here you go. You really can't complain when WWE is giving the women their own pay-per-view. The women don't need another pay-per-view now or ever. I'm sorry. How could you have a pay-per-view? Or how could you even ask if you're Paige's or in Paige's situation, or if you're the mentality of Paige? How could you even ask for another pay-per-view when all you've been giving us is Sasha, Bayley, Becky, Charlotte, up and down, hot and cold, what Asuka and Kairi saying. I don't know whether WWE wants to push them or bury them. I don't. And then you got Lacey Evans. You got Lacey Evans now coming to TV. She was pushed with a rocket pack strapped to her back. Then she was off TV. Now she's back on TV. Seemingly turned from heel to babyface overnight with absolutely no explanation. And that's all we have. WWE has women on the roster that they keep hidden for whatever reason. Now, with the women that I just mentioned to you, how are you supposed to build a pay-per-view with four women that you schedule on weekly TV every single week? Asuka and Kairi Sane, who I don't know whether they're up or down one week, and Lacey Evans. How am I supposed to get behind that? How could you book an entire pay-per-view with that being shoved down our throats every single week and not featuring anybody else? You're asking me to book a pay-per-view when there's 90% of the division not even on TV. You're asking me to invest my time or potentially buy a ticket to a WWE All-Women's pay-per-view when I have absolutely zero care in the world for everybody on that roster not named Sasha Banks. I don't get it. I don't know how you can ask when he brings up an obvious issue and you go right to that as being a fucking problem. Then the mentality is that you don't give a shit about the entire division. You just want what you want at that time. We don't need another women's pay-per-view. You're asking way too much of me to care for everybody that's not featured on TV. When you start featuring everybody on TV in an equal fashion, and you start featuring everybody on TV and get them to a point where they could potentially be in the same league as Sasha, Charlotte, Becky, and Bayley, then you could start talking about an all-women's pay-per-view. But the fact of the matter is, the women's division right now is being featured by 4 women and 4 women only, and it's not a division. It's not a division. You cannot build the women's revolution on the backs of 4 women. And what's going to happen in 2020? WWE wants what they want. WWE feels like none of the other women can really do what the original 4 horsewomen did here. But how do you know that unless you give them a fucking shot? You're going to risk losing everybody because nobody's being given the opportunity to actually see what they're made of. They're always going to hide in the shadow of the 4 horsewomen. You can't have a division like that. I don't see why nobody's making a big stink about this. I don't know why anybody, is not really bringing this to the public's attention. I'm glad that it's finally getting out there, and I'm glad I talked about it last week in the manner that I did and then in the tone that I did, because now it's an issue. Now it's an issue. I've been making this an issue for the last 3 fucking years. What's going to happen next year? When everybody sees that Ronda Rousey's going to win the Royal Rumble, that's a foregone conclusion. What happens when Ronda Rousey wins the Royal Rumble? All that opportunity where you could use that Royal Rumble to build up a new superstar, and you got Ronda Rousey, who's out all year, coming back, and she wins the Royal Rumble. That's what you call opportunity? That's what you call building an evolution? Or a revolution of women's wrestling? And when Ronda Rousey comes back, it's going to be the 4 horsewomen and Ronda Rousey. When Shayna Baszler gets called up, it's going to be Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, and the 4 horsewomen. That's it. All of your weekly WWE TV, wherever they land, is going to be revolving around those 6 women. Everybody else, take a back seat. You ain't them. And that's not right. That's not right. So I'm glad that this is being discussed. I'm glad that she was on there, which I don't agree with her bringing that up first. They need a pay-per-view. No, they don't. You need a fucking division first on both shows before you can have a fucking pay-per-view. But I'm glad this is being discussed because I raised a very important topic. And I brought to the table why Charlotte Flair doesn't need to be on TV as much as she is. She doesn't need to be the center of attention every single week. She doesn't need to have a title match every single month or have a title on her every fucking day of the entire year. There are other women on that roster that have not even been given an opportunity. There are other women in NXT waiting to jump to the main roster. What are you going to do then? Now, I agree. The current crop of women's wrestlers on the main roster right now, the slimmings, or the pickings are pretty slim, I should say, right? The pickings are pretty slim. Dana Brooke, I don't give a shit either way. Carmella, I don't give a shit either way. Natty, nobody wants to see Natty. I'd rather watch a wall dry, full of fucking fresh paint than watch Natalya wrestle. There's nobody that I'm going to find interesting. So I have hope that when WWE is ready to call up everybody from NXT, that it won't be the same. But given WWE's track record, nobody's going to stand up to the 4 horsewomen. Or they pick their favorites. They like who they like. They push who they like. And if you don't fit the mold that they like for whatever reason, right, you're not going to get pushed. And you can't do that. Why have all these women on your roster without giving them an opportunity? You don't know what you got. WWE doesn't know what they have. If you let one of those women through that you might not look at as being the Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Becky, or Bayley, you might find yourself looking at the next Sasha Banks, and you might not even know it. WWE's divisions, and this is only a small problem of what's going on in the WWE. You can look at the women's division and find everything wrong with the fucking company. Because it's happening everywhere, up and down that roster. People being mishandled, people being underutilized, people being held in the back for whatever reason without being given an opportunity. I mean, Ricochet was on fucking Main Event this week. On what fucking planet do you put Ricochet on Main Event and not on Monday Night Raw? That goes to show you the creative direction in WWE. They don't have a fucking clue. They don't have a clue with anybody on Raw, SmackDown, Tag Team Division, Women's Division, the fucking main event scene, the mid-card. They don't have a goddamn clue as to what is going on. They don't have a goddamn clue as to what talent they have currently employed. But the Women's Division and the Tag Team Division both have been an eyesore for years. And it's about time we get this shit fixed. Because I'm tired of talking about this shit. It's not that difficult to book a women's division. It really isn't. Get your fucking head out of the clouds and start looking at the other women that you have on this roster. Not name the 4 horsewomen. You might find something that you didn't know was there previously. Talent deserves opportunity. They don't deserve to sit in catering next to Dana Brooke smelling like fucking cheese curds. Give me a break. This is Off the Script, episode 304. This is part number 2. One of many topics we're going to go over today, man. I'm heated, as always. 302, part number 2, TLC tomorrow night. I got all your latest and up-to-date TLC news and rumors. So we're going to go over all the news and rumors before we hit SmackDown. It's Friday at 3 o'clock, so this is obviously being recorded for the Saturday afternoon, tomorrow. And I am here before SmackDown, so whatever happens on SmackDown, I don't know what they got planned. Hopefully there's no more dog food. But I got all the latest news and rumors for TLC. I got TLC predictions. We're going to go over the entire card that I see as of right now. I also got news on the Royal Rumble. Yes, it's Royal Rumble season. As soon as TLC is over on Sunday, Royal Rumble season is in full swing. Rumors and betting odds and all that. I got news on the Royal Rumble. WWE changing the way that they book the Royal Rumble. NXT to be featured in the Royal Rumble. NXT to be featured at WrestleMania. I wonder why. If you don't think there's an AEW effect, folks, you're a fucking idiot. NXT to be featured at WrestleMania. Favorites to win the Royal Rumble for the men and the women. The main event of WrestleMania, potentially as WWE sees it now. Or I should say what they actually want. They might not get it, but it's what they actually want. WWE trademarks even more old school names. AEW effect, as always. Got news on the New Day. This is pretty funny. News on the New Day. They just had their recent podcast this week, and they revealed the full list of all the rejected names that WWE pitched to them before they landed with the New Day. You're going to want to hear this, man. Some of them are pretty fucking out there. Also, Walter, as you guys know, this is old news. We'll go over it anyway. Walter as U.S. champion, UK, not his U.S. championship. You don't want to be back in the U.S. ever again after this. Had a UK championship stolen in Chicago right before an Evolve show. Lars Sullivan news, when is he going to return? And TJP, who I just got done calling a match for at House of Glory's Hog 9, the 9-year anniversary show. He was actually in the news, and he spoke on Reddit, and he detailed the micromanaging of talent in a WWE ring. Why on earth would you micromanage the talents of TJP? I don't know, man, but holy shit, he's so much better off away from that shitty company known as World Wrestling Entertainment. We got a lot to go over today, and thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the podcast. I am JD. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications as well. Make sure you follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Check out all the videos that you might have missed this week. Monday Night Raw. You got some Luigi's Mansion. Some video game gameplay on there if that is your type of thing. AEW Dynamite, NXT. You got Off the Script on Friday. SmackDown. And then obviously today with part 2 of episode 304. Lots of stuff this week, as it's always every single week. Make sure you guys go and check all that stuff out. Links will be down in the description of this very video. If you want to support the podcast on Patreon, you guys can certainly do that. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. And the podcast today is brought to you by the one and the only Harry's. Harry's.com/script for your Christmas season. Make sure you guys shop smart. And make sure you guys give a gift that is both thoughtful and practical. Harrys.com/script. Now, what guy in your life are you guys shopping for? Your dad, your brother, your uncle, your grandpa? If you're a lady listening to the podcast, maybe you're shopping for your boyfriend. Maybe you're shopping for your side piece. Maybe you're shopping for your husband. I don't know, man. All I know is that guys usually get cliche gifts for the holiday season. Socks, t-shirts, underwear, tools. Nobody wants that. Nobody likes that. I got a gift, like I said, that is thoughtful and practical. Harry's. Harry's.com/script. You guys can get $5 off any Harry's shave set by heading to harrys.com/script, and you are going to get free shipping. This is the last weekend for me to tell you that you have free shipping, which ends on December 16th, so act now. I love Harry's. I've been using it for almost 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And I love the closeness of the shave. I love the simple fact that I use a Harry's blade every single week, and I've never once caught myself using a Harry's product. I love the closeness of the shave. I love everything about Harry's every single week, man. It's a practical gift that he's actually going to use. Harry's makes sharp blades that last, German-engineered and award-winning, backed by 100% quality guarantees. If he doesn't love his shave, which I don't know why he wouldn't, you guys are going to get a full refund. It's a great deal for you and him. Holiday sets just start at $20, and Harry's blade refills are as low as $2 each, so your guy will save money over time. It comes ready to gift in a handsome holiday gift box, and your gift actually gives back. 1% of each sale will be donated to charitable organizations. As a special offer for fans of Off the Script, we partnered with Harry's to give you guys $5 off any shave set, including their limited edition holiday sets, when you go to harrys.com/script. Plus, remember, the free shipping up until December 16th. Each Harry's shave set comes with a weighted handle with the option to engrave, 5-blade razor cartridges, foaming shave gel for a rich lather, travel cover to protect your blades, packaged in a handsome holiday gift box. Guys, give the gift of Harry's this holiday season. Free shipping ends on December 16th. harrys.com/script. Might as well start with the TLC pay-per-view. What pay-per-view, you might ask? I don't know. There's a pay-per-view Sunday. It's called TLC. Do you give a shit? I know I don't. How many of you guys watch the actual week-to-week shows? Probably none of you. That's why you're here. That's why the one comment I get throughout my week is, thank you, JD, for watching these shows so I don't have to. Yeah, you're welcome. Never come to me and say I never did anything for you guys. That is a Christmas gift times 1,000 right there. Because I got to sit through Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown and watch the big dog get Alpo poured all over him. And then I got to see Burger King Corbin ask me, would you like pickles or onions with that? Do you want the Impossible Burger? Does it taste like beef? Certainly it does. I never had one, but apparently this is what I've heard. Now, I don't know if you guys have watched the shows realistically. Have you seen a pay-per-view build? The answer is no. I don't know what kind of pay-per-view build you would expect coming out of the Survivor Series 3 weeks ago. There's no build. Don't even know why WWE even has a pay-per-view when we all know that it's probably going to be utter garbage. Now, I got to give WWE some shred of praise, I should say. Is that the right word for me to use, praise? Or shred of, I guess, an opportunity. Because normally, when WWE has a pay-per-view build like we've seen, non-existent, they normally go into these shows and it ends up being one of the best shows of the year. It's like they know the build sucks and then they let the talent go out there and do whatever they got to do to make the show really great. The talent goes out there and they hear the cries of the fans and they know that the build has been garbage and they're probably frustrated themselves because there's no time for these stories to really get the fans to be invested. There's no time for these storylines or whatever they're trying to do on TV to breathe. So the roster probably goes out there and is like, we're going to tear the house down. We're going to prove everybody wrong, and more times than not, they do. So we'll see what happens. The pay-per-view could end up being one of the best shows of the year just based off the fact that we're not expecting anything to happen on Sunday night. Now, let's go into the news and rumors, man. First of all, Robert Roode and his suspension caused a major A major change. What is this major change, you might ask? Oh my goodness. Instead of getting Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus The New Day, now we're getting The Revival versus The New Day. I would rather see The Revival, even though we've seen the match about 4 other times previously. And it's not a major change. It's not a major change. It's just Robert Roode, who slipped up, got suspended. Hopefully he comes back and is good to go. And I'm still wondering why Primo Colón is employed by the WWE. That's the biggest news story of the entire week. Luke Harper released? Fuck him. Sin Cara? Who gives a shit? Robert Roode suspended? The Ascension being released? It's Primo fucking Colón. How is he still employed? Why is he still employed by the WWE? Maybe Vince McMahon is also waiting on a pina colada and some empanadas, and he is keeping him around for that reason, and when he gets the delivery, then he will give him his pink slip. I don't know.
Oh, JD, you're so insensitive, man.
I'm sorry. Look at the gimmick. The Shining Stars, really? You think I forgot about that one? Give me a break. According to Meltzer, prior to Roode's suspension, he and his partner, Rudolph, were booked to take on the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships at TLC, but plans were changed following the suspension. There's no word on when Roode is coming back, if he's coming back, or what the violations were for, but as it was for the first time for both, their suspensions will only last 30 days. So there you go. Suspensions for both Primo and Robert Roode. We know Primo's not coming back. Robert Roode, I mentioned on yesterday's show, he should come back as a top-level heel and not be paired with Baron Corbin serving Burger King and Dolph Ziggler, who is just an absolute charisma vacuum. He takes the importance out of literally everything just based on how he's booked. He left because he was being treated like a loser, and he's come back to be treated like a loser. The guy is a loser by default. And coincidentally, he's one of the best wrestlers that they have on the active roster. It's a shame. So Robert Roode's suspension caused a major change in the TLC card, folks. Robert Roode getting suspended gave us the better of the 2 matches, yet everything still seems unimportant because WWE doesn't give a shit about tag team wrestling. There you go. WWE could cut 2 big matches off the TLC card. I don't know. Why are they cutting anything? The card's looking very thin at the moment, unless they're going to add Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, unless they're going to add Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Then these 2 matches would be cut. But apparently, from what I read, Seth Rollins is not competing, and Randy Orton and AJ Styles has yet to been announced. So WWE waited until the last minute to put their entire TLC card together. Due to them waiting so long, it seems as though 2 matches might not have made enough time, or been given enough time, to get properly built. Just like everything else on this card. Just 2 matches? How about the entire card? Now, it was noted on Wrestling Observer Live how Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins might have been cut from the TLC card, which I hope it is. And they ended up taking Owens off of Raw as they stretchered him out this week after being attacked by the Authors of Pain. Another match that might have to be cut is the Viking Raiders versus an undisclosed team. Now, the undisclosed team is being rumored to be the OC because there are no other teams on Monday Night Raw for them to squash. Eric and Ivar ended up defeating the Street Profits on this week's show. They successfully defended their titles with no new challenges being placed before them. Whose fault is that? Who asked for an open challenge on Monday Night Raw? I don't know why you're doing an open challenge on Raw and then an open challenge on Sunday at the pay-per-view when you could have left the open challenge off of Monday Night Raw and just given us the open challenge at the pay-per-view and have the open challenge be the Street Profits and give them 15 minutes to shine on pay-per-view. And instead, you have them job out in 3 minutes on Monday Night Raw. I don't know how that makes any sense. So you buried the Street Profits, one of your more legit teams, one of your more promising teams on the roster, and then, in one act I thought was completely foolish, they showed them later in the show doing a Saturday Night Live skit, comedic skit, a playoff Saturday Night Live, and they didn't seem too bummed about losing to the Viking Raiders in 3 minutes for the tag team titles. They were back to doing shitty, cheesy, cringy comedy on Monday Night Raw, going over the entire TLC pay-per-view. So if that match is cut, I would not be shocked. Nobody gives a shit about the Viking Raiders versus the OC. The Viking Raiders have absolutely nothing to do with the OC in the 3 weeks of build that we got on television. The only time they ran into the OC was at Crown Jewel when the OC pinned them to become the best tag team in the world. The OC went on to battle the New Day and the Undisputed Era at Survivor Series, and then they went right back to job matches, squash matches on Monday Night Raw. Leave it off the show. Nobody is going to be invested if that is the case. Again, I don't know why you didn't do the open challenge on the pay-per-view, but you opted to do it on Monday. That was mistake number one. And now it's going to cost the Viking Raiders a pay-per-view match that people care about. So that's that. I'm also hearing that they could leave Buddy Murphy versus Aleister Black off the show. Don't know why you would do that. It's one of the few matches on this entire card that's actually got some sort of build. And it's probably the one match that I am looking forward to most on the entire show. Rollins, Owens, not on the show. Styles, as of right now, WWE could always change their minds as they always do. Styles and Orton, not announced for the pay-per-view. I mentioned this yesterday. I'm going to mention it again because it's exactly how I feel in both situations. I don't know why you just don't book Monday Night Raw as a big show. I don't even know why you're having this pay-per-view, to be honest with you. TLC is not going to make or break subscriptions for the month of December. There's so much content on the WWE Network that if you miss this show, it's not going to be the end of the world. You could have easily booked Monday Night Raw to be a pay-per-view-like show at the end of the year. Could have booked SmackDown on Fox to be a pay-per-view-like show at the end of the year. Why don't you show some value to those shows? Why don't you actually hype up those shows and give those shows something of meaning so that we could watch and enjoy ourselves on a Monday and Friday night instead of booking this worthless show on Sunday night that nobody gives a shit about? Give some love to your shows during the week. You don't need this show being booked in 3 weeks with absolutely zero investment from the fans. I don't understand it. But WWE is a business. They know their business better than I do. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. Now, there's another title match that could potentially be called off due to injury. What is it, you might ask? Well, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but apparently Shinsuke Nakamura is set to defend his Intercontinental title against Braun Strowman at TLC. Really now? In the middle of Braun Strowman squashing Drew Gulak. Apparently that got him an Intercontinental title match. Man, I don't know what's going on in that company, but apparently title matches are given out for basically doing nothing. Nakamura is set to defend his IC title against Braun Strowman. Now, there was an angle with Sami Zayn and Nakamura where Braun Strowman was in the back and Sami Zayn was talking shit about Braun Strowman behind his back. In comes Braun Strowman, and apparently that was supposed to lead to a title match. Now, Dave Meltzer noted on the Observer Live that Shinsuke Nakamura is set to defend his Intercontinental title against Braun Strowman, and he says this: Nakamura and Strowman, they were supposed to do an angle on Friday night, but they couldn't because Strowman got hurt and he couldn't do the angle. End quote. Again, I don't know what the injury is. It was reported that Strowman is suffering from back spasms, but the company has said that he is dealing with a hip injury and it's nothing serious. So, this might be doom and gloom for Nakamura if that's the case. You're not going to book Braun Strowman in a match with Shinsuke Nakamura and then have him lose. Unless WWE wants to continue his losing streak, because Braun Strowman is nothing but an oversized fucking loser on SmackDown on Fox. He offers nothing of value to the show. He is so unimportant. I honestly can't even bring myself to even care when Braun Strowman's on TV. I absolutely walk away every single time Braun Strowman is on TV. I either mute the TV, I walk away and do something, I go do something in the kitchen, I fold some laundry, I clean some cat shit. I'd rather do all that stuff combined than watch Braun Strowman on TV. Nakamura Strowman, IC title. I don't know why you would book this on the show. It has absolutely nothing to do with TLC. You haven't even been featuring them on TV together. Yet you're going to book them on the show in an Intercontinental title match? Man, is that fucking lazy. Just stop. If you want the match to happen, get it ready for the Royal Rumble. Get it ready for a SmackDown in January. Give it some build. Give me a reason to care, please. Is that so difficult? According to WWE, apparently it is. The Fiend. Why The Fiend is not facing Daniel Bryan at the TLC pay-per-view. Why? Because maybe WWE actually grew a brain, or maybe this is Daniel Bryan's creative input. Daniel Bryan found himself being pulled into the depths of hell by The Fiend, shaved. We don't know what he looks like. Seems certainly that he and The Fiend will be having a Survivor Series rematch at TLC. However, as we saw on this past week's SmackDown, The Fiend will instead be taking on Bryan's longtime rival, The Miz. After Bray Wyatt threatened The Miz's family and appeared in a red cardigan, and he was in a portrait with The Miz's family, and I loved it. So this was Wyatt's first time ever outside the Firefly Funhouse and actually on a SmackDown Live. According to Dave Meltzer, the reason for delaying Bryan versus The Fiend, Part 2, is that it's all up to Bryan. This is Bryan's call, who actively pushed for a delay in the rematch so they do not rush the story. Imagine that. Imagine that. It had to happen immediately after Bryan was quote-unquote shaved by Bray Wyatt while he dragged him under the ring. Dragged him underneath the ring. Now, I love this. I love the fact that Bryan is thinking old school. I love that Bryan is actually giving a shit about what is going on with him on television. I love the fact that Bryan is speaking up to the people who don't have a fucking clue and telling them how to do their job. There was no way this match would have made any sense going into TLC based on 3 weeks of build. You have already included The Miz in this thing. The Miz was already teased to have fight Bray Wyatt at the Survivor Series. They held off on that and they did Bryan instead. So now we're getting The Miz and Bray Wyatt at the TLC pay-per-view, which is a perfect in the middle of the road type feud before we get back to Bryan, which leaves Bryan and The Fiend to tell a story over the next 7 weeks before we get into the Royal Rumble. Now, when they fight again, we will actually care. This is why I don't understand, how does WWE operate? They operate on a week-to-week basis. They like to rush through things. Who else is left for Bray Wyatt at the end of this when he inevitably beats Daniel Bryan? Who's left? Braun Strowman? Apparently he's running through all of his former opponents. He's running through everybody that had a run-in with Bray Wyatt in the past. The Miz, you got Daniel Bryan, you got Seth Rollins. Braun Strowman could be next. Roman Reigns obviously is going to be there. So I love the fact that we are getting Bryan and The Fiend, and we're getting some solid story behind it. And I love the fact that we're not getting this at TLC, and we're potentially getting this at the Royal Rumble, which would be 6 years to the very event where Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt fought in 2014, and Bryan brought Wyatt to the best singles match of his entire career at that Royal Rumble. So I love it. I love the fact that we're getting this and it's going to have some sort of build. This is awesome. Originally, Meltzer says, it was going to be Bray and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan himself was actually pushing to delay it. He thought this pay-per-view was too soon, and he, I guess, is pretty hands-on with his story, which if I was him, I would be too, because I wouldn't want these guys messing with my stories either. So it's going to be The Miz at TLC. End quote. There you go. You're going to put Bryan in a feud with the most over character on the entire roster, yet you want to rush through it? Bryan's like, no. You're going to put me in a feud against the most over character on the roster. I'm going to make it mean something. We're going to wait. We're going to do this the way I want if you're using me against the hottest act on the roster. Props to Daniel Bryan. Props to Daniel Bryan. Love it. There you go. I'm okay with this happening. I really am. Now, just based off that story and how Bryan is operating, now I'm automatically invested more so than I was. And I don't mind The Miz being in here if it's going to end up with us getting Bryan and Wyatt with a full story to get invested in. Original plans for WWE TLC's championship match revealed. Now, there's another championship match that is taking place. It is the Tag Team Championships. You got the Monday Night Raw Tag Team Championships, and then you got the New Day going up against the Revival. Now, the Revival got that opportunity against the New Day because they defeated Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable, Heavy Machinery, and the Lucha House Party in a 4-way elimination match that was good, but I would have opted to go with Ali and Chad Gable winning the match, and I would love to see those 4 guys tear it down at the pay-per-view. We've seen the Revival over and over and over again. There's no interest there. And the Revival are not winning the tag team championships because they haven't signed those lucrative 5-year contracts that are still waiting on Vince McMahon's desk unsigned. So Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder will face the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Sunday at the TLC pay-per-view. Despite this, it is believed that the New Day were actually supposed to defend their belts against another team from SmackDown. Despite this, it is believed the New Day were actually supposed to defend their belts against Rude and Ziggler. Now, we talked about this, how Rude's suspension changed these plans. Meltzer says this in regards to those plans. WWE decided to change the plans once it was clear that Rude and Ziggler were busy helping out Corbin, and then that was exacerbated, obviously, by the suspension of Robert Roode. The couple, Rude and Gable, were supposed to go against the New Day. They were supposed to defend the titles against Rude and Ziggler. That was up in the air, so they decided to do a 4-way without Rude and Ziggler because Rude and Ziggler were occupied with Corbin and Roman Reigns. It would certainly make sense for Rude and Ziggler to challenge the New Day. The duo managed to win the Tag Team Battle Royal for SmackDown on the Survivor Series pre-show just 3 weeks ago. Whoop-de-fucking-do. There you go. Original plans? The original plans are not always the best plans. I still would have went with Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable. Now we're getting the Revival and the New Day again. I'm sure it's going to be a decent match, but in the end, is it going to mean anything? Of course not. You'll go to work on Monday and you will forget everything that happened in that tag team match. Unimportant. WWE knows how to kill a moment, and they know how to not create opportunities. Now, those are all the rumors going into the pay-per-view. The full match card for TLC is as follows. Bray Wyatt versus The Miz. I mean, what do you want me to say? Now, we are headed towards SmackDown Live tonight, or Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. Bray Wyatt and The Miz. I want to see Bray Wyatt in The Miz's home. I want to see some Miz family torture on SmackDown. I hope. I doubt it. It's a PG show. WWE has no creativity, but certainly calls for it with the Fiend character. I would love to see Bray Wyatt infiltrate the Miz's mansion. I'd love to see him just creep around the baby's crib. I'd love to see him slip into bed with Maurice and scare the living shit out of her. I'd love to see all that stuff. It opens Pandora's box as far as creativity. And the Miz won't be home. But I'm going with Bray Wyatt. Does anybody think that The Miz is going to win this match? Now, it's going to be interesting. The Fiend is not going to fight The Miz. It's Bray Wyatt. Now, I don't know how WWE is going to handle this. I'm glad that we're not going to get the red light. Great. How is WWE going to handle this? Is he going to come out with a new theme specifically for Mr. Rogers? Bray Wyatt is going to come out to the Firefly Funhouse theme. How is he going to operate? Is he going to wrestle like The Fiend? I don't know. Just based off all of the unknown here with Bray Wyatt, not wrestling as The Fiend on his first pay-per-view since the incarnation of the character, it's going to be very interesting. So it's definitely going to be a newsworthy match just based off what Bray Wyatt is going to do. But the outcome is pretty predictable. Bray Wyatt's going to beat The Miz. It's not a WWE Championship match, or Universal Championship match, I should say. The title does not deserve to be on the line. It is not on the line. It's a one-on-one match. Bray Wyatt is going to win because you can't have Bray Wyatt lose at all. Period. The Miz is going to be another victim. King Corbin versus Roman Reigns in a TLC match. I don't know what's going to be hanging above the ring. Maybe some working papers. Maybe one of these men are going to go work for Alpo. I don't know. TLC match. Roman Reigns is going to win. He's going to extract all that revenge that Baron Corbin had done to him. Another predictable outcome. Should it be a great match with the TLC stipulations involved? Yeah. Normally, Roman Reigns thrives in these types of environments. Baron Corbin, he's out of a regular one-on-one match, which is the same old shit every single time, even though he did shine in the King of the Ring, but because he was in there with top-tier talent. And I think Corbin could shine in this match as well, being that it is a TLC match, but the outcome is not in doubt here, and Roman Reigns is going to win this match, no question. SmackDown Tag Team Championships, Big E and Kofi Kingston versus The Revival. The New Day are going to go on and retain. There's no way that the Revival are going to get the titles back because you just put them on the New Day. Why would you take them off the New Day just as quickly? And the Revival, WWE is not going to throw these guys a bone any longer. They are in the doghouse for the remainder of their contracts. Because until they sign those contracts, they are not being given any more opportunities as the champions. The New Day are going to win this. I would have much rather seen Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable. I think those four could have tore the house down, and it's not that difficult to give opportunity in a dead division where you don't want to give opportunity to the legit tag teams. I don't know why you're going with the Revival. You could have easily put over Gable and Mustafa Ali here as a makeshift tag team, a one-off tag team. This pay-per-view means nothing. Right? This is not a major pay-per-view in the calendar year. Don't know why you couldn't give an opportunity to two guys who have not gotten an opportunity yet, and they could have, all four of them, tore the house down. That's what I would have liked, but WWE's going the predictable route. They're going the safe route. They're going the route that they always go down, what they want. So they're giving opportunity. The New Day are going to retain the Tag Team Championships. First ever Women's Tag Team Championship TLC match. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Asuka and Kairi Sane need to win this match. I do not want to see Becky Lynch become Becky Two Belts again. I do not want to see Charlotte Flair hold another championship, but I could absolutely see it happening because do you think WWE enjoys hearing Bayley say she's the first ever woman to hold the NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and Tag Team Championships in WWE? There's one other woman who WWE has as a Grand Slam champion across all brands. Or actually not yet, but they could certainly do that and rectify that this weekend, and that is Charlotte Flair. You think WWE enjoys Bayley parading around saying that she's the only woman in WWE history to be a Grand Slam champion holding all four belts? You know Charlotte Flair is going to win this match and be a Grand Slam champion. You know Charlotte Flair is going to win this match to enhance her resume. I don't want to see it happen because the Kabuki Warriors don't really have anything else to do outside the Tag Team Championships. If you flip-flop the championships here, the end result is going to be the same. Neither one of these teams have any competition. If it was up to me, the Tag Team Championships would be abolished completely. Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, I think, are going to win. The Kabuki Warriors need to win. I don't want to see Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair parade around as Tag Team Champions because Becky Lynch has bigger things to worry about come January in the form of possibly Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. So that is that. I'm going with the Kabuki Warriors against my better judgment, but I do think Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch are going to win the match. Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy. Aleister Black is going to win this. Buddy Murphy is going to be a very good test. Aleister Black wants to fight. Buddy Murphy is going to bring the fight. Buddy Murphy is one of the best in-ring performers that this company has. He is tough as fucking nails. And Aleister Black is going to get the victory with the Black Mass. Should be the best match of the evening. Rusev and Bobby Lashley with Lana. This is the end. A tables match can be constituted as a blow-off. Rusev has got to win. And this storyline needs to die 1,000 deaths on WWE TV. You got the divorce. Rusev's been arrested. You got the restraining order. He's got Lana. Does Lashley. Rusev needs to win this and move the fuck on. Raw Tag Team Championships, the Viking Raiders versus a team to be announced. It could be the OC. If it's the OC, the Viking Raiders are going to win. They're going to get their revenge back from Crown Jewel. There's another team that WWE could put against the Viking Raiders, and that is the AOP. If it is the AOP, I expect the AOP to beat the Viking Raiders. But I would prefer that they actually build some sort of storyline between those two teams before we get the inevitable match. I don't want to see a makeshift match put together and then the Viking Raiders lose and you put the AOP on Monday Night Raw as your new tag team champions just because you now have them aligned with Seth Rollins and you need to have them look the part. They already look the part being behind Seth Rollins. You don't need to put the titles on them yet. I want to see something develop between the Viking Raiders and the AOP because I do think it could be a colossal matchup, a match between two big teams. I don't want to go into that not caring. I actually want to care about that. But who knows with this company? There are no other teams on the roster. Maybe they call up an NXT team as a surprise. I have no idea. But the Viking Raiders, it makes no sense for them to lose the tag team championships. If it's the OC, Viking Raiders are going to get their win back from Crown Jewel. If it's the AOP, which I hope not, AOP is going to win because you can't have them look weak. Can't have them lose, being that you just align them with Seth Rollins. So WWE could go a multitude of ways with this. I still would have left the open challenge off of Monday Night Raw, and I would have done the open challenge here on the pay-per-view, and I would have had the open challenge on the pay-per-view be the Street Profits. But what the fuck do I know, man? What do I know? I'm just some idiot talking about pro wrestling on YouTube. So there you go. Raw Tag Team Championships, WWE could swing either way. We'll see what happens. Styles and Orton are not booked currently for the pay-per-view. I would not put them on the pay-per-view. I would save that for a SmackDown or Raw. I'm thinking they're on SmackDown. I don't even give a shit where anybody is at this point. I would save it for Raw. Does not need to be on the pay-per-view. Rollins and Owens doesn't need to be on the pay-per-view. You got a good enough show here. You got some titles on the line. Give whoever you got on this show time to flourish, time to shine. Save those matches for Monday Night Raw. Seriously. You got some shows coming up. You got a couple shows left for the remainder of the year. Book those matches on those Raws. Make those Raws feel important. That's all you got to do. You don't need to blow everything on this show. And quite honestly, if this show's starting at 7 o'clock, I would love for it to be over by 10 o'clock. Because I don't want to be here later in the evening talking about fucking TLC. So there is your TLC preview and predictions for what we got right now. Still, we don't know what WWE has planned or what's going through their minds. Rollins and Owens could still be put on the card. Styles and Orton still could be put on the card. I hope not. But this is what they are working with going into Sunday night. TLC 2019. Moving on here, man. Speaking of the New Day, we mentioned the New Day a few times. We mentioned the New Day a few times here on this podcast already. The New Day were actually on their podcast, Feel the Power, which I have not listened to, and I will not listen to it ever. And they read an entire list of pitched names, and they also pretty much dragged all of the bad ones through the dirt when they listed them. This is according to the report that I took it from. But they landed on the New Day, which is good. It's good. It makes sense. We're all conditioned to love it and know them by the New Day. But these are the names that WWE pitched them and the New Day rejected. I'm going to go through these one-on-one, or one by one. Musical names. The Beat. The Tribe. Kofi immediately mentioned on the podcast the racial overtones and why this was a bad idea. This is in line with why he never became King of the Ring. Perfect Harmony. Healing through harmony. The Wonders. The Miracles. The Sensations. The Modern Marvels. Vibe and Vision. The Commotions. Those are the musical names that they came up with. Then they went into trio-based names. Harmonies 3, Trilogy with 2 L's, Triverse, KBX, Kofi, Big, and Xavier. WWE later recycled this idea for Paige, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair and called them PCB. Awful. Absolutely awful. Both situations here. Kofi, Big, and Xavier. KBX is awful, and PCB was awful. That time in women's wrestling was fucking awful. Those trios everywhere on Raw, my God. Such stupid television. Then they go into some inspirational names. The House of Light, the Triumph, the Beacon, New City, the Cause, the Voice. This was before the television show became a reality TV show. The Regulators, the House of Positive Energy, which would equal Hope, HOPE. House of Purpose, The Calling, which is already a band, Voices of Triumph, The Prime, there was already primetime players, but then it was revealed that they tried to put Titus O'Neil in the New Day at one point. I could see that. I could actually see Titus O'Neil in the New Day. If the New Day wasn't what we see as of right now, I could absolutely see Titus O'Neil in the New Day. The Charge, The Reach, The Concept, The Achievers, The Sentinels, they said they'd be fine with that because of the X-Men reference. I don't think that sounds good at all. Then they go into the religious names that WWE pitched. Genesis, already a band. Phil Collins. If you guys don't know Phil Collins, I don't know what the fuck you're listening to. Born Again, Revelation, Masons of Salvation. Very Illuminati-esque. And it would probably fit perfectly with the rest of the Illuminati images that you see on WWE TV from Rollins and Aleister Black and Finn Balor and Corbin. The Congregation, the Advent, Trinity, the Crusaders. I like this one because they're one of my favorite bands of all time. Exodus, Redeemed, Risen. Now, I was a part of Risen. Risen's actually a gospel band with an S. My Risen, spelled Risen with a Z. Almighty, which was later used for Bobby Lashley or Trashley. Modern Day Saints, the Sainthood, the Amen, or the Amen, Brothers of Xavier, Excommunication, SOS, Saving Our Souls, Million Man Ministry, MMM. Xavier Woods said that this is 300% making it a very racial thing. Resurrection, Penance. So those are the religious names that they axed for a possible New Day name. Then they go into the names that the New Day had pitched to WWE Creative. By Any Means Necessary. Xavier Woods mentioned this name because he was heavy into Malcolm X audiobooks at the time. He said that he had to stop because he was becoming very militant, and I was rough for a second. The New Way, The New Day, so that was one of the names that they obviously pitched. Now, throughout the entire episode, they kept saying that this list of names was written by people who were paid to come up with those names. In the end, they went with a name that was pitched by the superstars themselves, which I honestly think should be a way of WWE doing a lot of things, giving the superstars who are in the gimmick to come up with the gimmick and come up with the name and come up with the direction and come up with the dialogue for their promos. So that doesn't happen always. WWE gave them the opportunity to choose their own name. Kofi Kingston said that their livelihood depended on a good name. Several names were trashed, as they said it would have resulted in instant death with the fans. If they went out there under that name, it's a good thing that Kofi held on to that list because it also gives us an insight as to how shitty WWE Creative's process really is. So that is that. I found that to be very interesting. And after all of that, I don't think that there's one name on there that I would have honestly chosen over the New Day. Seriously. I don't think there's one name on that list that I would have chosen over the New Day. So they are very fortunate that they landed with the New Day. Guys, I'm going to give myself a new beverage being that I'm out, and I'm going to be right back. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. But before we do that, I want to shout out my sponsor for this holiday season, The Ridge. Ridge.com/script. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. The Ridge helps you guys carry what you need to every single day, from streamlining how you carry cash and cards in their flagship Ridge wallets to their portable charging commuter backpacks. They want to make the most out of what you are bringing with you. I've had the Ridge wallets for just about all of 2019, and I love that it's such a huge improvement over my old wallet. It doesn't bend, it doesn't fold, it doesn't rip, it always looks clean and stylish. And the one thing I love about the Ridge wallet is that I know my ID and my card information is safe because of their RFID blocking qualities. The Ridge is so confident that you'll enjoy the product that they made it as simple as possible. Free shipping, so you guys can get it fast. Free returns, in case you don't like it. And if you do like it, there's a lifetime guarantee. And there's also 30,000 5-star reviews, so the Ridge has a lot to be confident about. The Ridge wallet is super durable, made from military-grade materials like titanium and carbon fiber. It's proven to be bulletproof, waterproof, and chainsaw-proof. The Ridge have been sponsoring Off the Script for all of 2019, and they're giving you guys 10% off this holiday season. Choose whatever you want from their website, from the wallet to the commuter backpack to their charging stations, their knives, which are unbelievable, by the way. You guys can save 10% on all of it by going to ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. Once again, guys, spend the holidays with the Ridge. Ridge.com/script. Oh, we're gearing up for Royal Rumble season, man. We are getting ready for Royal Rumble season. So much so that there's already news and rumors on Royal Rumble plans. Odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble, how WWE is going to book the Royal Rumble this year. Royal Rumble plans revealed. Folks, if you believe these stories, then you are just as dumb as the people writing them. You are just as dumb as the people reporting them. These fucking wrestle geeks in the community. You know? Ridiculous.
Oh, plans revealed for the Royal Rumble.
Are you fucking kidding me? WWE doesn't even have plans for fucking SmackDown tonight. Never mind the Royal Rumble. They don't know who's going to win the Royal Rumble. They don't know who's going to be in the Royal Rumble. They don't have plans for Raw coming up on Monday. They don't know what's going on with WrestleMania. Now, if I was in charge, if I was booking things, WrestleMania would have already been fleshed out following SummerSlam. You should already have an idea of what you want at WrestleMania coming out of SummerSlam. You should already have WrestleMania written in pencil coming out of the Survivor Series. You should already have a Royal Rumble winner decided upon at the end of the current year's WrestleMania. WWE does things on a day-to-day basis. These shows are written and produced and planned and thought out the same day that they are set to go live on USA or Fox. There are no plans for anything regarding the Royal Rumble. Now, let's go into this Royal Rumble bullshit that somehow hit the news feed on Thursday, and it continued on into the weekend. There are favorites to win the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble's my favorite event. WWE apparently is booking the Royal Rumble in a very different manner this year, which you guys know what I'm going to lead this to. Now, the WWE is doing things differently for the Rumble. Normally, it's just Raw and SmackDown. Now, in 2020, things are changing. It's going to be 10 from Raw, 10 from SmackDown, and 10 from NXT. Because, you know, NXT needs the rub from the main roster because they're in the middle of the Wednesday Night Wars with All Elite Wrestling. We need NXT to take that rating from 800,000 to 1 million. We need to take that rating from 1 million to 1.5 million. That's exactly why they're doing it. If you wanted NXT in the Royal Rumble, seriously, if you legitimately wanted NXT in the Royal Rumble and you legitimately cared about NXT as a brand where they were easily and have been the best thing in North America for the last, 5 years, why didn't you do it last year? Why didn't you do it the year before that? Why didn't you do it the year before that? Now you're doing it in 2020. Folks, if you think the WWE is putting NXT in the Royal Rumble because they want NXT in the Royal Rumble, they want to take opportunity away from everybody that looks at the Royal Rumble as a fresh start, that looks at the Royal Rumble as an opportunity to go out there and maybe do something and grab the eye of a producer or an agent or Vince or Kevin Dunn, Bucktooth Beaver over there, right? Now their opportunity has pretty much become non-existent because they're putting NXT in the Royal Rumble. So you're putting NXT in the Royal Rumble, and at the same time, you're showing how desperate you are. You're showing everybody on the roster that looks at that event as an opportunity that they're not going to get an opportunity. You know, there were rumors coming out of the Survivor Series that everybody in the back was upset because they had to give time to NXT. That TV time was taken away. Survivor Series time and opportunity was taken away. Nobody gives a shit about the people that are not being used on WWE TV. They're giving it to NXT because they're in the middle of a Wednesday Night War. They're in the middle of a Wednesday Night War. So WWE rumored, take this with a grain of salt, 10 from Raw, 10 from SmackDown, and 10 from NXT, which goes back to what I've always been saying for pretty much all of 2019. This is another reason that WWE is desperate, and it's another notch on the belt of the AEW effect. Now, that AEW effect belt is looking pretty full, man. It's like a fucking dude who goes out there and has sex with as many women as he can. Sex with different women of different nationalities and backgrounds. It's like, oh, I'm going to have an Asian tonight. I got an Asian woman coming over in about 2 hours. I'm going to cook her dinner. I don't know her fucking name at all, but I'm going to be smooth. I'm going to cook her dinner. We're going to get a bottle of wine. I'm going to fucking smash later on this evening. And then you're not going to call her at all ever again. You know, what's your name? Lucy? Lucy? Oh, yeah, get the fuck out of here, man. Seriously. So it's like a guy who sleeps around. He wants another notch on his belt. WWE wants another notch on that AEW belt. Now they're putting NXT in the Royal Rumble. If you don't believe so, folks, stop living in denial, please. You know, the only denial I know was by Seven Dust all those years ago, which is a great song, but fuck Seven Dust. Okay? This is WWE living in denial. I'm sorry. The truth hurts, I know. Please, if I had Kleenex on my table, which I don't, I'd hand you one. Favorites to win the Royal Rumble. Now, we're not done with the AEW effect, by the way, which I hope is not the case, because I am going to switch things around. Because apparently NXT is going to have a presence at the Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania. I hope it's not what I think it's going to be, and I hope it is what I want it to be. Now, the favorites to win the Royal Rumble. This is in the news. Again, take this with a grain of salt. Over the past few years, the Rumble match has produced fewer and fewer stars. WWE has forgotten how to book a Royal Rumble match. They haven't booked. I don't even know when the last Royal Rumble match was that was good. Maybe the one with Nakamura. That was a decent one. I don't even remember what happened in last year's Men Royal Rumble. Because it sucked. It's like the women's Royal Rumble was better than the men's because we have Becky Lynch and the story revolving around Becky Lynch. Now, we got Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns winning the match. And, you know, that gives you a guaranteed shot at WrestleMania. The full list of odds makes for interesting read. Now, with Roman, he's the clear favorite to win the match at 3-1. Now, we all know this is happening. We all know that this is an inevitability. If the WWE cannot get The Rock, which I know they want to book a match with The Rock and Roman Reigns, which I don't know how that would do any good whatsoever. That would absolutely kill Roman Reigns. Everybody's like, oh my God, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see The Rock. And Roman Reigns is going to put over Roman Reigns. What are you, fucking mental? That's in the news too. I don't want to jump ahead here. Roman Reigns, if they don't get The Rock, is going against Bray Wyatt. That's the only logical outcome for Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. And then Roman's going to spear the Fiend, and we're not going to see the Fiend in the red light anymore. There you go. Roman might kill the red lighting with the Fiend at WrestleMania. So Roman winning the Royal Rumble, I could absolutely see that happening. Please hand me the bleach and hand me the fucking noose right now. I don't want to see it. You're going to make me hate this guy all over again 10 times as bad as I did the first fucking time. Unsurprisingly, CM Punk is in the odds. He's the second favorite to win this thing at a 9-2 odd. Third, fourth, and fifth favorites are Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens, and Finn Balor, which Bray Wyatt's the Universal Champion. He's not going to be in the match. Kevin Owens, he ain't winning the Royal Rumble. Finn Balor's with NXT, and he's not going to win the Royal Rumble either. There's no major plans in that for Finn Balor winning the Royal Rumble. So, on the women's side, Ronda is the standout, 3-1 like Roman, with the four horsewomen being in there, or I guess one other woman of the four horsewomen, the UFC four horsewomen, the MMA four horsewomen, Shayna Baszler, she is coming in at second at 5-1. After that, it goes Kairi Sane, Charlotte Flair, and Rhea Ripley. Now, Rhea Ripley's going to be the NXT Women's Champion by that time, so she's not going to win the Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair, she's not winning the Royal Rumble. Kairi Sane is not winning the Royal Rumble. There's no woman on that roster that's winning the Royal Rumble that would make for a believable Royal Rumble. There's only two women. There's only two women who are logically in the idea to win the Royal Rumble, and that's Ronda Rousey, which is boring as fuck, and Shayna Baszler. And if that's the case, I would rather go with Shayna Baszler because I would like to see Shayna and Becky one-on-one for the title, and I'd like to see Shayna go over. Ronda, I honestly believe Ronda coming back and winning the Royal Rumble would be the most boring fucking thing ever. I don't know how anybody could get behind that. Now, I know we deserve and we want a one-on-one match with Ronda and Becky Lynch, but if you're bringing Shayna Baszler up and Shayna is losing to Rhea Ripley next week, and Shayna's going to be brought to the main roster, what are you going to do? You're going to have Shayna go through Charlotte first and then go to Becky? And you're going to blow off this Ronda-Becky Lynch thing? That could be a possibility. I wouldn't mind that happening. Shayna feels, like she can beat anybody. Throw her right in there against the Queen. I'd love to see that. Get a win over Charlotte Flair? Boom, you're good to go. That deserves a title shot just on its own merits. So if WWE is doing this, I would rather them do that. Because if Shayna comes up to the main roster and goes immediately to Becky Lynch for the title, she has no choice but to win that. You're not going to put Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler on pay-per-view and then not have Shayna win. It doesn't make any sense. I would rather Shayna and Charlotte go at it. Shayna beats Charlotte. Becky takes care of Ronda. And then she loses to Shayna Baszler. And then you can flip-flop them back and forth, which presents a whole another slew of fucking issues, because you're just going to be revolving the same 4 women on TV. We'll probably get tag team matches out of it, where Ronda and Shayna teaming up against Becky and Charlotte. Nobody else is going to be featured. It's going to be the same shit that we've seen all of this year. There is a problem in the women's division. And it all starts with WWE just pushing who they want and forgetting about everybody else, which is 98% of the roster. So if there is a way to go about it, Shayna and Charlotte, and then Becky and Ronda. I do think Becky and Ronda is happening at WrestleMania in Tampa, and it's not the main event. I would not make it the main event. It should not be the main event. That is being presented in the middle of the show. You do not give the women another main event. The women's division right now is as dead as dishwater. You do not put them in the main event after what you did to the entire division on Raw and SmackDown all of this year. It doesn't deserve a women's main event at WrestleMania. You've already got one. The next women's main event at WrestleMania is one other match, and that is it. Tessa and Charlotte. For a unification of sorts of titles, for a title, that is your next women's main event. Simple. It books itself. I don't need to go over why that is your next women's main event at WrestleMania. Now, that is the odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble. Those two, men and women, Reigns and Ronda. So there you go. I could see that happening, but WWE clearly wants Reigns and The Rock at WrestleMania 36. Now, The Rock could be coming back to WrestleMania this year. WWE always hangs on to that hope that The Rock is going to come back, but the latest betting odds are saying that The Rock will be favored to come to WrestleMania this year. Now, the last time we saw The Rock was on the debut of SmackDown on Fox, where he cut a promo alongside Becky Lynch, and he beat up Baron Corbin for a few minutes. However, there are bets indicating, and I don't know why this is, because usually they get wind of something, and I haven't heard anything else but this one report, that the bookmakers, the sports bookmakers, are leaning towards The Rock and Roman Reigns as one of their odds-on favorites to main event WrestleMania 36 this year. It's the sort of match that if it were to happen, it would probably make Vince McMahon come several times over during that match. And I'm being legit with that. That's not a joke. I don't mean to be nasty or sexual in any way. Legitimately, he would absolutely have a raging hard-on so much that he would not need BlueChew.com, code JD, for your free shipment. Give me a break. Now, McMahon, if he books this match, he might be as dumb as I think he is. How do you want Roman to be accepted by the fans? How do you want him to be accepted by the fans and then book him in a match with The Rock? Do you realize that if you book Roman and The Rock in a main event program for WrestleMania, that Roman is going to be absolutely hated in the eyes of the fans? Why would anyone choose Roman over The Rock in a returning role? I don't get it. I really don't understand it. And did Roman fare well enough on the microphone when he was standing toe-to-toe with John Cena? John Cena buried him in every possible way, no matter what you think, in their match or their feud at No Mercy a few years ago. I don't know why you would think Roman is going to be cheered in any which way. I don't know why you think Roman would stand toe-to-toe with The Rock. Roman is going to look like a little boy standing next to The Rock. It's going to look like, this is who you got. This is who you have your faith in Roman Reigns. And there you got The Rock, who's been away for all these years and still outshines everyone 1,000,000 times over on that active roster. You're going to actively embarrass Roman Reigns, and you're going to reverse all the goodwill that you did. Leukemia out the window. Nobody's going to give a shit about that. Nobody's going to give a shit about that. And I'm sure WWE is going to hang their fucking hat on this promo work that they're going to do on the fact that he had leukemia. Sure, The Rock will mention it, Roman will mention it, it'll be mentioned 16 fucking times in the entire build towards their WrestleMania match. Nobody gives a shit. It's about The Rock and Roman. Nobody's going to cheer Roman over The Rock. You're going to do more harm than good by booking this as your main event WrestleMania match. And how the fuck do you expect Roman to go over The Rock when The Rock has already endorsed Roman Reigns and it fell on deaf ears? I don't understand it. But The Rock wasn't enough. They had Bryan put him over. They had Brock Lesnar put him over. They had Braun Strowman put him over. They had AJ Styles put him over. Sheamus put him over. Vince McMahon himself put him over. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. Triple H put him over. The Undertaker put him over. Give me a break. Give me a break. If there's anybody that would like to see go one-on-one with Roman Reigns, it would be CM Punk. Honestly. I think that would be a great match, and you could build off Punk was the guy, and they always had hope in him. They always had hope in him, and they never seen Punk as that guy. And I'm here to take my spot back. Books itself. Books itself. Roman Reigns and The Rock, I am not interested in that whatsoever. I look at that as John Cena versus The Rock, and none of those matches were good. The first one was better than the second one, and the second one didn't even need to happen. Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. 0 times in a lifetime is what I want out of The Rock and Roman Reigns. I don't want to see it happen. There's much better idea. I would rather see The Rock versus Brock Lesnar, to be honest with you. That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see The Rock go in there and get his hands dirty for once in a while, you know? Put him in there with Lesnar. Throw him around a little bit. You can't throw around fucking Mr. Pretty Boy Hollywood. Roman and The Rock, favorite to headline WrestleMania. I hope it doesn't happen. Oh yeah, and Ronda versus Becky Lynch. I'm assuming that's where WWE is going with the Women's Championship. NXT is going to be featured heavily at WrestleMania 36. I don't know what that means. It could mean one of two things. And I'm going to tell you which I do think is going to happen. Now, NXT won the Survivor Series. Their developmental brand won Survivor Series. And WWE only put NXT in the Survivor Series because it's absolutely a part of the AEW effect. It also featured an NXT Championship match between Adam Cole and Pete Dunne, who is the longest reigning modern-day champion for the men in WWE history, holding that belt for almost 2 years. Over 2 years. Now, this inclusion led to speculation that NXT would be playing a role in WWE's larger pay-per-view shows going forward, and it seems that is the plan. Why? AEW effect. Oh my goodness, man. Good thing I got a little bit of the bubbly right here. Gotta clear my pipes. Because the AEW effect, man, it's something that, I cough it up every now and then, and people don't believe that I'm still sick, WWE the sick ones here, folks. A little bit of the bubbly. Good. Doesn't taste like apple, though. Apple bubbly. Where's the fucking apple, clowns? Jesus Christ. Squeeze the whole fucking apple in there. It tastes like fucking water with bubbles. Anyway. According to very reliable sources, WrestleVotes tweeted out the following. He thinks that the current plan, or he hears the current plan is that WWE is planning on giving NXT a role at WrestleMania 36 next year, although how big that role is not clear at the moment. We already know that NXT TakeOver shows will be moving from Saturdays to Sundays in 2020. It is announced that Tampa will have a TakeOver on that Saturday, right before WrestleMania. NXT TakeOver Tampa, and the logo is probably the best TakeOver logo that I've ever seen. So I can't wait for that. It should be a great show, as always. As always with the TakeOver shows, I'll probably embarrass WrestleMania. That is my WrestleMania that weekend. Too bad I have to attend a beer fest that weekend because I might be drunk when I do the fucking TakeOver review. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that in April. WWE is reportedly experimenting to see if the Sunday night slot will improve its viewing figures for NXT. The company is also going to be holding more Worlds Collide shows with the next one taking place on the eve of the Royal Rumble. Because of the lack of TakeOver shows before the main roster shows, you would have thought that this will free up a lot more NXT talent for potential matches at some of the major main roster shows going forward. Now, let's talk about this for a second because this is a big talking point. I could see, and it doesn't make any sense, it really doesn't make any sense now that I'm thinking about it, I could see WWE doing an NXT Championship match at WrestleMania. Not having it on TakeOver, maybe you headline the show with a tag team match, maybe headline if it's big enough and more important enough, or as important enough, maybe you headline a TakeOver show for the North American Championship, right? That show could be great even without an NXT Championship match. WWE could absolutely book TakeOver without an NXT Championship match and save the NXT Championship match and give NXT a presence at WrestleMania. That would be great. If you guys remember, Tommaso Ciampa was on Lillian Garcia's podcast, and he mentioned that if they moved him to Raw and SmackDown, he was going to retire. He did not want to be on the SmackDown or Raw rosters. It would take him away from his family, and he knows that he doesn't have as much mileage left as people think he does. That would have absolutely broke him down. The schedule is so much more for him in NXT. He loves NXT. He bleeds the black and gold. If that is the case, it sounds like Ciampa is never moving to the main roster. And it would be a shame. It would be depressing. It would be sad if Tommaso Ciampa doesn't get a WrestleMania moment, because he deserves one. He's one of the best active wrestlers in the entire company. He deserves a WrestleMania moment. WWE could save matches like that, which, by all accounts, if we're looking at things, it could be Adam Cole versus Tommaso Ciampa WrestleMania weekend. Instead of doing that match at TakeOver, save it for WrestleMania. That could be Ciampa's WrestleMania moment. Guys like that who don't want to make the main roster jump will never have an opportunity to WrestleMania moment. That could be Ciampa's WrestleMania moment. Guys like that. Johnny Gargano's the same way. Who knows if Johnny Gargano will ever be moved to the main roster? Who knows if Johnny Gargano wants to move to the main roster? Who knows how much mileage Johnny Gargano has left? Look at the fucking quality of work. Look at the body of work that Johnny Gargano has given you over the last 2 years. Do you think he will be able to do that every single night on the main roster? I don't think so. So, a WrestleMania moment for Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, which I absolutely think is deserved, that could be their in for a WrestleMania moment. So that could be a situation that WWE explores. Or, if that is not the case, you do the NXT title match at TakeOver like scheduled, and the major presence or NXT to be featured heavily at WrestleMania could come in the form of an NXT talent winning the Royal Rumble, throwing the wrench in that unpredictability pool, right? Because I hate when there's a fucking predictable outcome in the Royal Rumble. I don't want Reigns. I don't want Orton. I don't want nobody that's already won a Royal Rumble to win the Royal Rumble. It's supposed to be given to someone who needs a huge boost. The Royal Rumble is a stage where they don't have many throughout the year, a stage where you take a relative unknown and you make him into a superstar overnight, like the Survivor Series did for Keith Lee. What if an NXT superstar won the Royal Rumble? What if Keith Lee won the Royal Rumble? What if Matt Riddle won the Royal Rumble? And he wins the Royal Rumble and challenges Brock Lesnar, who's still going to be the WWE champion come WrestleMania. And we get a Matt Riddle versus Brock Lesnar main event match for WrestleMania. And that's how NXT is featured. Or if Keith Lee wins the Royal Rumble, we get Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar, and that's your NXT being featured heavily at WrestleMania. I absolutely am behind that 1,000%. Now, either one of those situations, I do not mind. And yes, if WWE's featuring NXT at the Rumble and at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam, then you know that they're just picking up their pieces that were left from the Survivor Series. Survivor Series was successful, good for them. Got NXT in the eyes and ears of more people. They beat AEW in the ratings, good for them. But we all know why they're doing it. And if AEW wasn't around, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. At all. But I don't mind if a guy like Ciampa or Gargano get a NXT Championship match at WrestleMania 36, at that show, to get a WrestleMania moment where one might not be available to them ever. I don't mind that. And I don't mind if an NXT superstar at all wins the Royal Rumble. I could absolutely see Matt Riddle winning the Royal Rumble. And if WWE is smart, that's the way they do it. That match should be setting the stage for someone to have their career go through the roof. You want to make a new fucking superstar? You don't have one here, man. Matt Riddle winning the Royal Rumble and not retiring Brock Lesnar, but giving Brock Lesnar a taste of his own medicine and winning the WWE Championship, that would be a highlight of the year. People would be talking about that for years. Matt Riddle would be a made man with basically you doing absolutely little to zero work. Keith Lee, the same thing. If you want to, substitute Keith Lee in there for Matt Riddle. That's what needs to happen. This is potentially setting itself up for unpredictability and some excitement. If WWE does the right thing, which I don't think that they will, I hope that they do. I seriously hope that they consider what they got going on and what they have down in NXT. And if that's the case, if you're going to put NXT in these big shows, then you got to use them accordingly. Build new stars. You don't have any right now. Build new stars. The Rumble is that. The Rumble is the stage for that. WWE locks down several WCW and ECW trademarks. Why? Because they're keeping them away from AEW. That's why. PW Insider reports WWE applied for a ton of trademarks on December 6th. Those trademarks include Sold Out, Greed, Living Dangerously, Sin, World War III, and more. Now, WWE actually applied for more trademarks on the 6th, including Fully Loaded, Living Dangerously, Heatwave, Anarchy Rules, World War III, Chi-Town Rumble, Sin, Sold Out, New Blood Rising, Hog Wild, Capital Combat, Road Wild, Greed, Uncensored, Spring Stampede, The Day of, Mayhem, Beach Blast, Massacre on 34th Street, Hardcore Heaven, Eat, Sleep, Conquer, Repeat. Which that is a Paul Heyman thing with Brock Lesnar. That's not a name of a show, but all those other ones, names for shows. All those other ones, trademarked to keep them away from Cody Rhodes and AEW. If you don't think so, again, take the blinders off and stop being an ignorant clown. Because that's exactly what it is. AEW effect? You don't think it exists? What are you talking about, man? It exists. There you go. It exists in all these names. And this storyline is nothing more than WWE keeping names away from AEW. Because you know Cody Rhodes is paying homage to his father. He's paying homage to the old school. He's bringing back the old school in some way, shape, or form with some old school WCW names. You know? The AEW effect is alive and well, folks. It ain't going away. Walter had his title stolen outside of Chicago or in Chicago right before the Evolve show. Evolve 142 in Chicago, Illinois. Wrestling Observer Radio mentioned, and Dave Meltzer mentioned, Walter's situation. He had to wrestle barefoot at the Evolve show because his gear was stolen too. He'll be okay, but the situation is shitty. He worked his match barefoot Evolve, stole his passport. I mean, you can get that taken care of, especially with WWE behind you. You get that taken care of, but yeah, they could always make him another belt as well. They have extras. It certainly sucks. Now you know why Walter doesn't want to work in the United States and would rather stay overseas and work overseas for whoever he wants to work for. You have this guy coming to Chicago. You got this guy working more in the United States than I've ever seen him work before. And look at what happens. You got some fucking douchebag, some degenerate, breaking into Walter's fucking car, stealing his gear, stealing his passport and his title. Man, that takes some fucking balls, knowing that you are about to break into Walter's fucking rent-a-car. Unbelievable. I hope this guy, I don't think this guy got caught, probably made out like a bandit. Some fucking idiot's gonna have a nice Christmas this year when he's presented Walter's United Kingdom Championship and here's Walter's passport to prove it, bro. Look at what I fucking got away with, you know? This guy was caught. I would have Walter fucking just lock this guy in a room with himself and chop this guy fucking that big paw over and over again for a fucking hour till his heart is just fucking just hanging out of his chest. What a douchebag, man. How the fuck could you go and do that? No respect for fucking humanity in general, and then no respect for the fucking performers at all. Just a shitty, shitty situation. Lars Sullivan, who? Not like you guys care. Lars Sullivan, not likely to return before WrestleMania. This could be a red herring. Lars Sullivan, I don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't know how bad the injury was. We never heard anything from him at all or anything about him. He could be coming back by the Royal Rumble. That is a great spot for returning superstars to come back to. Lars Sullivan could be coming back at the Royal Rumble, and this could be a red herring. But over the weekend, Lars Sullivan took to Instagram to share a clip of his workout. Many people thought that this might indicate that Lars is preparing for an in-ring return. However, it is now being reported that Lars Sullivan is nowhere near close to returning to the ring. Meltzer talked about this on the Observer Live and said, "We're told his return is not imminent and that he's about midway or so through his recuperation from knee surgery." End quote. So that's that. Not sure that you guys care, but Lars Sullivan is still on the WWE radar. And finally, guys, before I get the hell out of here, and this concludes the podcast this weekend, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you guys made it up until this point. Comment down below. Use the hashtag TeamJD if you made it this far into the video. I want to see how many of you goons out there are loyal and dedicated that you sit through all my content throughout the weekend. TJP, one of the best wrestlers on the planet. I actually had the opportunity and the pleasure of calling his match, Fatal 4-Way, at Hog 9 with Evander James, Ken Broadway, and JT Dunn. Great match. TJP is a marvel to behold in the ring. Former Cruiserweight Champion. He actually took part in a Q&A on Reddit, and he was asked about the creative process of putting matches together in WWE. This is what he had to say. This is what you had to say, TJP. Look, Earlier in the day, your producer would sit down with you and a sheet of paper and insist that you tell them every move you will do and what part of the ring you will do it in. I've asked constantly, especially as a 20-year guy from an older generation with a lot of experience at every level, why that's necessary and why do they ask us to be able to feel it out there or etc. when they don't want that at all. They never have a real answer for that. Personally, I guess I don't care because I was taught to make it up as I go out there. I prefer that, like a quarterback running the no-huddle offense or a point guard in basketball. But I'm fine with tons of details too. But you get sent through the curtain and the first thing that happens is the ramp cameraman meets you at the top. He tells you to stop or go, so your entrance isn't necessarily up to you either. Once you get in the ring, the referee replays or relays from the back how the finish of your entrance and where you should stand should be. And as I do my match, at least with the producer we had for 205 Live, who was not Hunter, I'm being told by the ref, they're saying slam him and grab a headlock. They're saying get on top of him and lay in some punches. They're saying send him into the turnbuckle and play up to the crowd. And afterward, it's the same thing as your entrance, just in reverse. Stay in the ring or hurry up and exit. Stop at the top of the ramp, etc. End quote. Now, TJP ended up by stating that your match just isn't your match. There for many guys, as some people play favorites with, and will sit down more creatively and have fun with. So, the political agenda in WWE rears its ugly head as always. They'll sit down with their favorites and go over and do things differently. And if you're not in their inner circle, if you're not, on their favorites list, then you're going to be given hardball treatment. There are other people who are just there, picking up crumbs and collecting crumbs with another, and it's just a line full of ants. He said, people who are just an ant collecting crumbs with another ant in a line full of ants. This is, again, it goes to show you how WWE doesn't even know and appreciate the fucking talent that they got on the active roster. Knowing how good this guy is, why would you ever just script TJP to that extent? I don't understand that. I really don't get it. Why would you sit there and overly script a guy with the talents of TJP? I guarantee you, he went into that Fatal 4-Way match and he talked about what he wanted to do with Evander and Cam Broadway and TJ Dunn, and they had a great match. They had an absolutely great match. Nothing in that match felt forced. Nothing in that match felt scripted. It was four guys going out there who are very good at what they do, led by TJP, and you let that guy creatively create. You let that guy go out there and do what he needs to do to give you a good match, because you know he's as good as he is and he's going to give you a damn good match. WWE is fucking pathetic, man. Seriously. Everything from your entrance to this, to that, to this, to that, and how you do it in the ring, everything is just strategically orchestrated, and it comes off that way on TV. That's why these shows are so fucking boring and stale. It's the same shit every single week. How could you script someone like TJP? Absolutely mind-boggling. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so very much. Let me know what you think of all this news. Let me know what you guys think about that Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, NXT news. Very interested in hearing your thoughts and opinions down below. If you made it this far in the video, use the hashtag down below, hashtag TeamJD, and I will like the comment. I will like all the comments that say Team JD if you guys made it to this point, man. Thank you guys so very much. If you are missing any of the content previously, check out the description. Everything you guys need is right there. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. Harrys.com/script. Free shipping up until the 16th. Make sure you guys do that as well for your holiday gifts. I'm making it easy on you. Please go out there and get your dad something nice to share with your grandpa, your uncle, your husband, your boyfriend, your second boyfriend, your third boyfriend. Just don't tell them that you're cheating on the first boyfriend, please. You guys know the deal. Anyway, I'm getting out of here, man. Enough for me and my antics. I will see you guys back here on Monday for Raw. I'm taking Sunday off. Actually, no, I can't take Sunday off. Again, I forgot there was a fucking pay-per-view on Sunday. I'll see you guys for the TLC pay-per-view. Till then, guys, have a great Saturday. I'll see you right back here on Sunday night for TLC 2019. See you guys then.